Okay, for our last question, Anthony wrote in to say, I'm going to be entering seminary soon, and as someone as cultured and intelligent as you, I was wondering what are the main qualities you look for in a good and holy priest?
Well, firstly, Anthony, you don't get out much if you think I'm cultured. But no, seriously, I'll tell you what I would look for, but bear in mind, what I would look for is not what the elderly ex-nun or pant-suited nun of a dying order, who in so many seminaries decides who gets in. What I think and what she thinks may be different. And remember, she's the boss. She wears the trousers with that admission board. So, having said with that caveat, so understand what I'm going to say. If you display that in front of Sister Mary Virago, you're not getting in. Fortunately, she and her kind are fewer than they were, and of course I know what you're thinking. How in God's name would she know what would make a good priest?
Yeah.
Why don't we just have guys deciding who's going to get into the convent?
Yeah.
But bearing in mind that she probably comes from an order that doesn't get any vocations anyway. She's got to do something with her time.
That's true.
See? One thing you'll never see on those review boards are fully habited sisters from thriving congregations. That, too, you would think, would mean something to somebody somewhere. But why should it? To answer your question, first thing I look for in a priest is a man, is two qualities that are totally intertwined: prayer and belief. And in prayer and belief, above all and beyond everything else, the Blessed Sacrament. I look for a man for whom, if he had the power to offer Mass, and for some reason was unable to do so on a given day, would really feel unhappy about it. A priest is a priest because he makes the holy sacrifice. And so that you need to be totally in love with our Lord and the Blessed Sacrament. Absolutely. And similarly, you should have a tremendous love for Our Lady as both your queen and your mother. Queen of the priesthood and mother of priests. And the angels and saints. I mean, you can never have too many devotions. And you really have to believe the entirety of the Catholic faith. You need to be able to take the four creeds and read them without flinching. And be able to say, when you finish the fourth, I believe. Without quibbling, without, but on anything. You just take it as it is, and bear in mind that you are consecrating your life to preaching what's in those four creeds, because that, plus the sacraments that you wield, are what will bring us, as in the lay people, salvation. That brings you to another point, and that is that I look for priests who realize that they are here to serve. I don't mean here to tell us what we want to hear. I don't mean that. I mean here to bring the means of salvation to us. That's the only reason, if you're a priest, you exist. Otherwise, why would I give tuppence about you? Why would I care? Why should I care? Beyond that, there are things that are helpful, but not absolutely necessary. A man of a sense of humor, I would say, is all important, like St. Philip Neri had. Because you're going to be dealing with the human condition. And if you don't realize that human beings are absurd, including yourself, you'll go crazy. Really and truly. You need to be able to sit back, look at the whole thing, and at least have a small giggle in private. Be discreet, because guffaws coming out of the confessional are never a good sign. Especially if it's on the priest's side. It's bad enough if it's the penitent laughing. The priest is laughing, you know something's up. So don't do that. But, and I look for someone in the confessional who will challenge me without trying to kill me. Now, mind you, there aren't many of those tough guys anymore. You don't generally run into them. But if you have the slightest concern about the way I present one of my sins to you. Speak up. Because nobody else is going to. I mean, that's the thing. The confession is the one place where I can be myself, where I can be honest. And so unless you've got 25 people and 10 minutes left in confession, in which case, get through it as quick as you can, unless you're in that position, listen to me. I mean, you're not a counselor, but you are a doctor of souls. And if I come to you and I say, my brother's driving me crazy, or my wife's driving me crazy, remind me that maybe it's not them. And even if it is them, I'm the only one I have control over. So that's the thing. Listen to the confessional. Be polite. Any sign of impoliteness on your part, of nastiness, of superiority, and again, one thing we Americans have trouble with is distinguishing between behaving well, carrying yourself well, and behaving in a superior manner. There is a difference. But bear in mind that anything you might do to drive someone away, even if it's just being too bureaucratic, too businesslike, at a time when, someone's getting married or they're dying or there's a baptism here or whatever it might be, you might very well drive someone outside the church, and endanger their souls, and you'll be responsible for that. So, you've got to be firm, but you can't be nasty. And again, it goes back to putting the Blessed Sacrament and the faith and the souls of your people above every other consideration. It's very, very important. You also need, and now I'm going to descend from these lofty heights, you learn some financial theory. Now, mind you, this is exactly what I'm terrible at. But you need to be able to balance a budget. You need to be able to do the nuts and bolts of parish life. If that's not your calling, then try to stick to chaplaincies, where you'll never have to worry about that. But if you are a pastor, that's going to be a problem. So just keep that in mind.
Mother Angelica was retelling the story of St. John Vianney.
Yeah.
And apparently he was not a smart man.
No.
He was very low IQ. And this was an issue because he wasn't passing tests. It was a real controversy. And so they went to the bishop, and the bishop asked one question about John Vianney. Is he pious? Yes. Okay. Priest. And then that was it. And I remember after Mother Angelica told that story, she said, nowadays they don't, pious, they'll throw them out. We want social workers.
That's very true. Well, that goes back. Notice that Mother Angelica was not a nun deciding who gets into seminary.
Right. But I did have one question. What is piety? What does it mean to be pious?
Devotion, worship, prayer. A pious person is a person of prayer, a person of devotion, a person of worship. An impious person is someone who's the opposite. So, if you're assiduous in your prayers, you're pious. The pious person prays every day. The pious person goes to Mass as often as he can, to confession as often as he can. Really believes it, takes it seriously. That's what it is to be pious. Try, however, also, and again, this isn't an absolute essential thing, but the better educated you are and the more cultured you are, the more people you'll be able to appeal to. And what is it to be cultured? Well, it's to be well-read. It's to be well-rounded. It's to have an interest in things other than purely professional ones. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've just said that should be your major focus. It should be a major focus. But bear in mind that everything else, from gardening to literature to hunting to whatever you might be doing, can also be turned to your work. Because, number one, all these things are reflections of God's creation. If you have any interest in them, then you can appeal in a particular manner to other people who have an interest in them. But yeah, don't make up an interest that you don't have. But if you do have a natural bent, whether it be like Father Summers for theater and literature, or whether it be some other thing, develop that bent as part of the evangelization process. But always bear in mind that it's not for its own self and it's not for your pleasure, really, alone. But for evangelization, for the greater good, for the common good of your people. All of this is a lot of stuff to ask out of any one individual. You bet. But that's why many are called, few are chosen. That's why most people aren't called to the priesthood. I do hope, Anthony, that all of this having been said, you become a priest, you succeed, you do well, because God knows we need good and holy priests. But we have, your generation are producing some really, really fine men, and I hope you'll be one of them. I really do. However, I'm going to insist, because you asked me, that if you do get ordained, you remember me at every single one of your masses.
Wow, that's asking a lot.
Well, what did he just do? He asked a lot out of me. He asked me to disagree with Sister Mary Virago on television. Well, podcasting, same thing.
You give him some advice for 10 minutes, and now every mass he has to say from now on is dedicated to you?
Not dedicated, just remembered.
Just remembered?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's just when he's praying, every priest offers mass for a ton of intentions. There's the principal intention, which you got the dough for. But then, remember his Aunt Sadie, whatever. Just remember me at that time. Hey, I've just risked my soul by going up against Sister. All right?
Okay, fair enough.
She could sacrifice me to the elder gods. And who's going to protect me? You, Anthony? I don't think so.
Okay, well, Anthony?
Or one of the priests she's approved and likes. He might sacrifice me to the elder gods.
Okay. That's it for this episode.
Hey, listen, this is a weird bunch of questions. I have a right to give it a weird ending, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is your show.
And if you thought you were safe because it's not autumn, we've got a lot of you guys gals have a lot of weird questions out there. I don't mind them. Send them all in. I don't care. But there's weird stuff going on in this world. Dickie Lee said it best. Strange things happen in this world. Yeah.
They certainly do.
Gosh. Anyway, there was something I did want to draw attention to. What was it? Oh, you notice there wasn't a single political question.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of those political questions. Yeah.
I'm glad. I'll answer them if you send them. But we all know it's a mess, don't we? And more frightening than anything Montague Summers ever wrote about.
See you next time.
Take care.